So, my friends, the impossible happened. The System Shock remake released and it's really good. If you don't know, System Shock originally, the first one came out in 1994 and was one of the first immersive sim games. It basically invented the genre and it is a genre I really like. I have never played the original System Shock. I think it's something that I want to do eventually at some point, maybe even on stream. But I have played through the remake now, and it is really good. It is really good and something that I highly recommend checking out. It's not only an immersive sim, but it's also a retelling of the same story. I think some things have changed, sorta. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about it because I think it's a really cool project and I think it's a really cool game. And the fact that it came out and it's not just good, but honestly pretty amazing is really good. I'm really happy about it. I know it took quite a while to make, and honestly I have been waiting for it for a while. So let's get into it and talk about some gameplay stuff. In terms of gameplay, it is your standard first-person fare with some exception. Since it's an immersive sim, almost every single system in the game can be integrated with every other system. There's a million ways to do everything and I'm not gonna be able to go over all of them. But I can say that I think it is almost always fun to explore. And it has a lot of options, and more so than just like the normal standard fare of either use abilities or use guns. It has a bunch of them. Anywhere from how you move to how you interact with almost every part of the game world, it can be changed. And that is not only through the gameplay and what you find throughout the game, but also through the game's very nice accessibility options, as you can turn down the difficulty for, as an example, puzzles while keeping the enemies hard, or you could turn up the enemy difficulty or turn it down while keeping the puzzles either hard or easy, and so on. The same thing goes for inventory management and everything else. There is options for how you want to play and how limited you want to be in System Shock, in the remake anyway, and I think that's a really good thing. Because at the end of the day, it allows you to customize an experience that is really well for you. I played everything on normal to get the most standardized experience, I feel like, and that was sort of the intended goal of that. And I feel like I succeeded in that, in the sense that I think that is what was intended anyway. And the game is amazing anyway, with the balancing on normal. I can't speak a lot for higher difficulties or lower, but on normal it definitely does feel balanced. Talking about System Shock's gameplay is extremely hard without talking about Shodan. Shodan is the big selling point of System Shock, in my opinion. It is one of the most memorable video game villains ever. A video game villain that has inspired multiple other villains, such as the guy from BioShock and so on. Shodan is a villain that excels at fucking with you, to say it lightly. What Shodan does really well is the fact that she can spawn enemies on board the ship at any given point. She can lock doors, she can change almost every part of the ship because she is the ship's AI. So it makes sense she has all of these crazy abilities to do stuff, like to change your gameplay and how you play. And the voice actor for Shodan, it is creepy the way that they have distorted it and everything. It's perfect for System Shock. I really cannot believe that I'm as excited about it as I am, but Shodan is about the perfect villain. She will react to the player to some degree by spawning in more enemies and whatnot around the area, because she can. She has access to it. She'll also manipulate you, taunt you, and so on throughout the game, and honestly, it's all really fucking cool. I really like it. And it's something that I wish more games would do, in like having this villain that almost taunts you throughout the entire game. It almost ends up being this ethereal godlike being. I think it's really cool. I think it's such a good concept, and I think it's executed really well again here. Because you see, with the fact that this is a remake, in the original 1994 one, from what I hear, it was also really good. So it's been the second time Shodan has gone onto the scene, like in a new era of gaming, and just absolutely blown people away. And I think it's honestly a little bit of a crying shame, however, that not more people have seen the System Shock remake yet, but I think that's gonna change with some time. System Shock, in terms of its gameplay in the remake, is heavily emphasized on the inventory management side, as you will find gun on top of gun on top of gun, and ammo and food and everything like that, and you want to grab it all, but you have a very limited amount of things you can carry. The game really only incentivizes you to have 4 weapons on you at a time. I carried 6 because I am a little bit of a psychopath, and I like to, look at different stuff, and I like to experiment, especially when it comes to weapons and guns and stuff. And while trying to save all of them, it's not worth it in the long run. Honestly, running with 4 guns would have you more than covered, I feel like, most of the time. I like the idea of carrying multiple. So I did that. And honestly, I can say it wasn't that bad. Even if you are a hoarder like me and you're almost every item that isn't nailed down, I think you'll be fine. I think there'll just be a lot of things to pick up, but honestly, I think that's a charm in and of itself. The fact that you're able to yoink almost everything that isn't nailed down honestly only speaks to the game's, greatness, in my opinion. In the game itself, the main issue I have with System Shock is that the game's economy can very quickly be trivialized by the sheer amount of things you can vaporize. Now, obviously, you're not intended to vaporize almost everything you can touch. I did, and it resulted in me within the first 4 levels of the game having completely broken the economy and having more than enough, currency to last me basically the rest of the game. And that's a bit of a shame in my opinion, mainly because it can remove from some of the difficulty, but again, I played on normal, so if I tuned up the difficulty, it will probably fix itself. And that's mainly it when it comes to that. And when it comes to gameplay itself, movement and everything is smooth. There really isn't anything to complain about. It's really good overall, in terms of gameplay. And the fact that Shodan still fucks with you in 2023, honestly, I think it's just a testament to how cool that idea is. Let's talk about something that's quite different from gameplay, and that is its very unique art style and the decision to make that art style. Because I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but it is mine, so let's talk a little bit about it. Now, talking about the visual style of System Shock is honestly not a big surprise to me that not everybody's into it, as it is voxels. It does have a admittedly very low voxel count in the sense that they are still high risk, but you can see the voxels in it. It reminds me a lot of the same style that games such as Valheim uses. The new game that also is going to be using that is Nevalis. And I think for some people it's a pretty huge turn off, but to me I really like it. I think it adds to the atmosphere, as you can look at almost anything in the game, and while most of it doesn't seem to be voxely, it kinda is anyway, right? But all the items, you can clearly see it, and the special effects and everything stand out a lot because of it. Because when you have these really glowing pixels in comparison to the really dark ones, it is very, very easy to see them, right? They stand out a lot more than the other ones. And therefore, I think the voxel style is honestly a really good choice. I think it's also a very unique choice, as I haven't really seen a whole lot of games pull that off at all, especially not in first person. I've seen some in third person, Valheim being the obvious example of it, but I haven't really seen an immersive sim, let alone a first person shooter, pull that off as well. And I'm happy to say, System Shock pulls it off. It adds immense amounts of atmosphere. Whether you're walking around the grove, by the way, whichever grove is irradiated, such as fuck that shit, but whether you're walking around the groves in the nature area of the citadel station, or if you're walking around the executive office, or even in the medical lab, the very starting area of the game, it all looks great. It's all atmospheric, it's all tense, it's all you creeping around corners to peek, is there a monster here, is there an alien there? You need to be sure before you pull in and start, shooting the cyborgs and whatnot. And honestly, I think that's what I really like about the game. It makes me creep around corners and look and really think to myself. and really think, you know. And that's something I don't often see first-person shooters do anymore. We have to go a little bit back until they did that again, you know. That's a while ago now. And I think it's because of the survival horror elements in the game that it really makes you do that, like creep around the corners and always be tense. And I think that's a great thing. And one thing that adds to that is the sound design and music. So let's just talk for a little bit about it. Now, the very first song you'll hear is this techno song that honestly whatever. But the next one you'll hear is the area in the ruined infirmary or the medical floor of the station. And honestly, it is the most atmospheric song I think I've ever heard. It fits so well, fighting for your life, hiding between robots and so on. And so does almost every soundtrack from here on out. Only amplified by the fact that the gun sounds are also good. And the cyborgs are like mumbling to each other and so on. And God, it's good. I could go on about how much I love it, but the fact that you can hear the enemies chatter in behind with this atmospheric sort of music, it's just fantastic. It makes the game really, really alive, if it makes sense. It makes the game will feel alive and feel worth exploring, like you're actually uncovering something new. And it also tenses it up at times. The music is really good at doing that. At just the right moment, everything kicks in and everything starts to get slightly more tense. That is until you reach the executive level, at which point the combat music sounds like something straight out of Doom, and it also manages to still fit the game. It to me is insane, because despite the fact that it absolutely shouldn't, this action rock music shouldn't fit a atmospheric exploration survival horror game, but it does, and it does it well. And I have no idea how the devs managed to do that, but they did, and they pulled it off, and it's great. So now I'll play you some music from the very first level of the game. If you don't want to hear it, you can scroll 30 seconds in, but we'll just play it now for like 30 seconds. What did you think of it? Please leave your thoughts in the comments. I personally think it's an absolute banger, and I think it's something that fits really well with, well, the game itself. Story-wise, I will let you explore it for yourself. I feel like that might be the best approach to it, I will say. The game's story is really fucking good. I highly recommend giving it a go. I think it's a really good and interesting story as well. And one that definitely does put on the entire sci-fi stuff and whatnot, and you'll see for yourself if you play it. But ultimately it isn't the selling point of the game, that is Shodan, and Shodan is really good in this one. So, that honestly sort of concludes my thoughts on the System Shock remake. I think it's a really good game, I think it's worth the asking price, I think it is honestly one of just the strongest titles that's been released in a while. And I think it's one of the best immersive sims in the last decade or so. I think the last one to even get semi-close to that was probably pre-2017, which was also a really, really good game and highly underrated. So yeah, overall I think it's pretty good. We're gonna skip the usual rant segment for today, and I'm just gonna say thank you for watching, thank you for being here for me. And you know, watching these videos that I posted honestly means a lot. And like, just in general, that you want to spend, you know, that amount of time with me. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for doing that. It's not something that I ever expect, but I am happy that people are doing it nonetheless. And once again, I'll be signing off. It is just turned 2 AM for me. I think I'll go for some good old sleep now. And you know, I'll see you in the next one. We'll see what it's gonna be all about, and I will catch you all later.